Now topic of discussion is how to draw trend lines methodically. You are probably aware that there are multiple ways to draw trend lines. Drawing trend line should not be an art. It should be mechanical. It will take some time to master any methodology, but if there are no fixed rules, then everyone can draw their own trend lines in different ways. There is no perfect way to draw trend lines, and it seems that many people who draw trend line do not agree with each other. Many times they will not agree. Purpose of having a rules is that if we follow the rules and if we tell these rules to someone else, then that person should also be able to make trend lines similar to our own trend lines. It should have rules which will be replicable, and other people can also use same rules and make same trend lines. This makes method reproducible. Why do different people draw different trend lines? Because trend lines connect swing lows and swing highs as well as pauses in the markets, and these swings are made of price action like any other pattern. And if somebody is not good at reading price action, then it may be difficult to draw trend lines for them. There are scenarios where drawing trend line will be very difficult due to lack of clear impulses, or there will be compressed price action, or even swing lows which may look like pauses or continuation patterns. Swing lows can also be called as valleys, and swing highs can also be called as peaks. Many times obvious trend lines are very obvious, but sometimes they are not so obvious because the swings that trend line need to connect are made of unclear price action. It will become much clearer if you read price action slowly. Reading price action is key to understanding how to draw trend lines. What is purpose of drawing trend line? Trend lines can tell us about the trend. Trend line can signal continuation of a trend if that trend line is respected, or it may signal a reversal when trend line is broken, or it may suggest a larger pullback which will be within higher time frame zones. Trend lines will help us identify the trend if we learn how demand and supply areas are created. Then another purpose of drawing trend line is to learn when the dynamics of chart are changing. By connecting these trend lines with rules, you will know very soon when the dynamics of time frame are changing. This is highly important in top-down analysis. It will give us a very methodical approach to multiple time frame analysis that other trend line techniques don't have. Trend lines can help us to quickly learn if opposing impulsive waves are stronger than previous waves. If the trend is down and bearish impulses are being created, what would you think if next impulse is bullish and stronger than the last bearish impulse? Wouldn't you think that market is changing to bullish? Yes, we will think that. For this reason, we should also know how to draw trend lines in a precise way. They help us in identification of potential reversals. When there is a pullback to trend line, it can provide us with good trading opportunities. In a clear trend, pullback to trend line can provide with great opportunities which can be traded on lower time frame. If price reaches trend line of daily time frame, then we may get good trade on 75-minute time frame or lower time frames. For these purposes, we should know how to draw trend line. Now let us see how a bullish trend line is drawn. What is meaning of bullish? Bullish means prices are moving higher and price is making higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So connecting two lows will make a bullish trend line. It will be sloping upwards. To make a bullish trend line, we have to connect latest two obvious valleys or swing lows, and we also have to connect two swing highs, latest two obvious swing highs. These valleys and peaks must be clear and obvious. If they are not, consider them as just a pause or continuation pattern. If these swings are not so clear, then there are high chances that they will be broken. Each time frame has its own trend line independent from other time frames. So 5-minute trend will be different and their trend lines will be different, whereas 75 minutes trend will be different and it may not have similarity with 5-minute trend. We should not use continuation patterns to draw trend lines, and while drawing a trend line we should not cut through candles. What is meaning of this? Means trend line cannot go through wicks or candlestick bodies. One must connect latest peak to previous peak or latest valley to previous valley, and this should be done meticulously, making sure that you are not cutting through the candles, neither wicks nor their bodies. Now let us see how we can draw a trend line. This is chart of natural gas. This is hourly chart. And this is commodity. So I use hourly chart here. At this place we can see there was a downtrend. We can see this is bottom. From this place we can see that this is a peak, then there is a drop, this is valley, then again there is a peak, then there is valley, then price crossed this high here, made a peak, then there was a valley, then again new peak was formed and there was new valley. Again there is a peak, a valley and a peak. Here how will we draw trend line? We have marked swing high and swing low. How can we mark trend lines? To draw a bullish trend line, we have to connect two adjacent swing lows. So this is first swing low, this is second swing low. We connect first swing low with second swing low to mark a trend line. Then as price crosses, this trend line will be drawn only when price crosses this high. Once this high is broken, only then this trend line will be made. Then there was a drop and another valley was formed. We will connect this valley to this valley once price crosses this high. Once this high is crossed, we can draw another trend line from here to here. As we have made new trend line, then what we will do? We will just wait. Either price will come to this trend line or this high will be crossed. As this high is crossed, we can make another trend line at this place. So now we have 3 trend lines and every time angle of trend line is ascending. Here trend is getting aggressive, and once this high was crossed, prices went up very rapidly. Once price came down again and retraced to some area, then we will draw new trend line only after this high is crossed. So as soon as this high is crossed here, we will be able to make another trend line. So this is our new trend line. And finally, when price comes down here and again goes higher, we will draw last trend line from this low to this higher low. So this is our bullish trend line. Price came back and touched this trend line, tried to go up but it could not. So on any trend line, we did not have any opportunity to trade. Only last time the price came down, touched our trend line and tried to go up, but it could not, and then trend line was broken. As soon as trend line was broken, prices started falling very rapidly. So there was no opportunity to buy at trend line, but this is a way to draw bullish trend line. What is way to draw bearish trend line? We will see how to draw bearish trend line at this place. This is obvious high, this is a low, but there is no rally above this. So this is our swing low. Then this can be our swing high. Once price crosses below this low here, we can mark our first trend line like this. Now there is no rally here and price continued to go down. So from here price came down further till this point, then there was a rally, and once price goes below this line, at this point we will mark another trend line. So our next trend line will be from this point to this point. This is our peak and this is our new peak. This is not a significant peak, so I am not taking this. This is significant peak. From this, once this low was broken here and new low was made, we can draw a trend line from this to this. We can connect this peak to this peak only when price goes below this low. So at this point, when price went below this low, we can draw this trend line, and this trend line has given us one opportunity to do short selling in natural gas. In this candle we could have sold. From this, once again prices came down and made new low. After making new low, what happened? Price went up and trend line was broken at this point. After break of trend line, what happened? There was sideways action for few days and then prices reversed. Trend reversal came. This is a way in which we can draw bullish trend line and bearish trend line. In bearish trend line, we should be able to see a W shape where W is slanted and second part of W should be lower than first part. Whereas for bullish trend line, we should be able to see slanted M where second bottom of M should be higher than first bottom of M. This way M should look like a slanted M for bullish trend line, and for bearish trend line it should look like a slanted W. Here you can see this is a kind of W. This is a way to draw trend lines. Sometimes it is not possible to draw trend lines when price moves very rapidly. So in this kind of price action, it is not possible to draw any trend lines. This is parabolic action or explosive move. It is also called as climatic move. It's not possible to draw any trend line in this kind of price action. Here also it will be very difficult to make any trend line. There are some different rules in which we can mark trend lines in these areas. These kind of candles are called as continuation candles. So this is continuation candle, this is continuation candle, this is continuation, this is continuation. When in a upward move or in a downward move, there are more than 3 continuation patterns, then we can draw a trend line. So we can draw a trend line like this. This is very rapid move and we can draw a trend line like this. Here we can see there is 1, 2 and 3 continuation patterns. So there are 3 continuation patterns. We can draw trend line from bottom of this like this, and we are not allowed to cut candle wicks or candle bodies while making a trend line. This is for rule based trend line marking. Is it always essential to draw trend lines? No, it is not always essential. Sometimes it is not possible to draw any trend line, or we don't need to because price is in all time high or all time low scenarios, and sometimes it is not possible to draw any trend line because of very strong move like this kind of move, and there are no valleys or no peaks. So here we can see there are no valleys. Even if we try to draw trend line using continuation pattern, it will be really difficult. It's not touching, so it will be really difficult. We don't have to get obsessed with trend lines. Sometimes it is really not possible to draw a trend line. If it is possible to draw a trend line, then it is good. If it is not possible to make a trend line, then we can ignore it or we can look for other patterns. And once we draw trend lines, we can make it a trend channel as well. As we have drawn this trend line, what we can do? We can copy this trend line and shift it down. What is this trend line suggesting us? As we have drawn this trend line after this low has been crossed, we will connect this trend line at this point, and we can see that price is not touching this trend line at bottom, but it is reversing from this point. So demand is coming even before demand area is touched on this trend line, and trend line is broken. Then price is not able to touch this supply line also. this is supply line, this is demand line, or this is resistance, this is support. So here price is not able to touch support area and then it is going up. So this is a sign of strength. From here we can see prices moved up very rapidly. Same way we can draw this kind of trend line and trend channel for up move. Here we have drawn a trend line once price crossed this high and we can make it a channel. This will be trend channel, and from this point what has happened, price could not go higher to touch this supply area. It came down even before touching or even before going higher. It came back very rapidly. There is one more term called as reverse use of trend line. What is it? We connect two peaks. When price is moving higher and higher, we connect tops. And what happens when we connect this high and this high? When we connect this high and this high, we can see that price tried to go above this high, but immediately it came down, and then next time it was not able to touch this supply line, and then prices fell down. So this is advanced use of trend line, which we will discuss more in structure section. So this is how we can draw trend lines and we can draw trend channels. I hope these rules are clear for drawing trend lines. We can have some question answer session now.